Here's, I should be recording. And okay, welcome everybody. My name is Gabe Linder. I'm the principal of TLA Online. And with us, with cameras on, quite conveniently, we have from top of my screen, Mr. Steve Borley is our K through 9 vice principal, Mrs. Marianne VanderHorst, our grade 10 through 12 vice principal, Mrs. Marissa Ang, our learning support services vice principal. And I also see here Mrs. Jamie Renee, who will be leading us in Brightspace demonstration for parents later. So thank you all for being here, and you'll hear from each of them shortly. I'm just going to begin by welcoming you. Oh, sorry, Anna. Anna says she has no sound at all. Now I'm getting feedback somewhere. So I'm going to turn my microphone off for a moment. Yes, Anna, I can see there's some problem on your end. I'm not seeing a microphone sign. You might want to try logging out and back in again. Marissa, maybe you could type a message in there for me so I can just carry on. I'm not sure. Hard to help with the technical issues on the fly here. So here we are. Opening slide is a welcome to you. And this is meant as a new orientation for new parents, is to give you a very broad and general overview of the school and the various departments. And we'll leave some time at the end for some questions, but then we'll encourage you to reach out and contact the appropriate person if you have any more in-depth questions, because we probably won't be able to answer everything tonight. We want to try to get to the Brightspace orientation by 8 o'clock. So here we go. I'm going to start out by giving you a little bit of background about the school. TLA Online was founded in 2002, so we just completed our 20th year of existence as an online school, formerly known as a distributed learning school, formerly known as a few other names the government has given this form of schooling over the years. Correspondence schooling in British Columbia started over 100 years ago, actually. So this form of learning, not in a formal classroom setting, actually has a long and storied history in British Columbia. And we're actually very proud to be a part of that history. This is our first year as what's now known as the provincial online learning schools. So online schools before this year had to apply to the Ministry of Education to be allowed to serve students anywhere in the province, regardless of our geographic boundaries. And so we're sorry, I'm going to make someone a co-host so you can work on if people could try to mute their microphones when they come in. I'm not sure what's happening here. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so we're a provincial online learning school, meaning that no matter where you are in British Columbia, as long as you have a permanent address in British Columbia, you can be a student at TLA Online. We serve adult students, K through 12 students primarily, of course, and homeschoolers. So we also register homeschool students. Homeschoolers are by definition students who parents choose to not worry about or follow the BC curriculum. Therefore, the school doesn't really get any funding. We can't provide teacher support, that type of thing. But the lion's share of the work the school does is works with enrolled students who are working toward their Dogwood graduation degree. So from K through 12, making individualized, personalized learning programs in K through 9, and primarily online courses in grade 10 through 12. There we go. And I'll just quickly tell you a little bit of something about myself. I've been married since 2002 to Nancy. These are pictures from the summer before last. Oh boy, pictures I didn't update. This is my 18th year at TLA, and this will be my 8th year as principal of TLA. I have 4 children. My 2 oldest have just gone off to university. Well, there too now, a university. So it's a big change for us. Their youngest is 12, oldest is 19. I serve on a number of provincial level committees representing online schools and our school's association called the Associate Member Society. And so because of that, I sit on the board of the Federation of Independent Schools Association. So it's kind of a good thing for us. We get a lot of the inside and advanced information, we hope, on changes that come, and we try to stay on top of everything there and advocate for online schools in British Columbia and home learning in British Columbia in general. And I've listed a number of my interests there. Won't go too far into that for the interest of time. I do want to talk most importantly about what TLA stands for and our vision and purpose. Our vision statement is strong families and lifelong learners. So we definitely are focused on strengthening and facilitating the bonds of family in the learning environment. Muting a mic there. And we have our unofficial motto is family first, and that goes for our staff and all of the families who learn with TLA. We are really focused on the centrality and the importance of the family as the foundation of society. And the other part of this is lifelong learners. So we do hope to instill a joy of learning, the idea in the students who learn at TLA that learning isn't just, going to school isn't just a hoop you jump through to get a graduation certificate. Parents have a great opportunity to demonstrate to their children that learning is something that happens throughout your whole life. And people often ask if we are a Christian school or not, or how do we define ourselves as a Christian organization? We talk about ourselves as a community of Christian educators. So all staff members who are hired at TLA sign a statement of faith that they are practicing Christian. We have representatives of a wide variety of denominations, quite the denominational diversity at TLA. I happen to be Catholic. I'm not going to ask any other staff member to reveal their particular denomination, but I probably count 30 or 40 different Christian denominations on our staff. Makes for very lively staff meetings and staff conferences, and we're very respectful of each other's beliefs and also very welcoming of students of all faiths or no faith at all. So we really, again, respect the family there. And when it comes to the teaching of anything like religion in the home, we don't have any kind of prescribed curriculum or direction there. That we leave to the family's direction. I see there are some comments in the chat. I'm not even going to open those. I'm going to let any of the trusty VPs here answer any of the questions that are in there so I can keep moving. This is our wonderful staff from our staff conference last year in Cloverdale. And you'll see almost around 100 people, maybe a bit less. A few people couldn't make it, but we count in at over 100, counting all of our support staff, office staff, and certified teachers all over British Columbia. And really our staff, and in particular our teachers, are obviously the backbone of what we do, and they're the people who you as a parent and your children will be interacting with most often. Our teachers generally stay with us for quite a long time. We had a bit of turnover this year in our blended program, but by and large, we have very happy staff members, we hope, and they have built up well over a century of expertise in supporting home learning families in British Columbia. So there's really just a wealth of experience here in the staff. Again, having been around for 20 years, we now have second generations of people, with their grandchildren coming on to learn with us. So it's an exciting and fun place to work. We love all of our families, and we just try to do everything we can to support you in this choice that you've made to learn with us. And I think that is just a quick overview from me. As I mentioned, we have 3 departments, K through 9, 10 through 12, and learning support services. I'm going to turn it over right now. I hit it right on 10 minutes as promised, and we'll start with Mr. Steve Borley in K through 9. And so, Mr. Borley, you can take the mic, and I will flip to the next slide, and you can just say slide when you want me to change it.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Linder. A few of these meetings ago, somebody put in the chat that I needed to smile. And I had to let that person know that I have to work with the face that I was given and that I was smiling on the inside. So if you think that I'm, quite serious here tonight, anything but serious tonight. School, I think, is part of life, but it certainly is not the end all and be all, and needs to be a little less serious. So I've been married for 34 years to that lovely lady in blue. We sailed our little sailboat over to Middle Notch Island, which is in the middle of the deep blue sea here, and enjoyed some time together. I've been with TLA now for 19 years, vice principal for K to 9 for 10 of those. And I am celebrating my 33rd September as a professional, whatever that means. So there's not too many things that are new to me, but there's the joy of celebrating the new Septembers for families who are just starting out. Had a great conversation with a mom with a K student today, and it's her first foray into education. So that kind of gets me cranked and puts a bit of a smile on my face. Excuse me. Yeah, sounds good. So kindergarten. Kindergarten to grade 9, we have 3 main programs or ways of educating children. Our home program, it's the largest program that we have. Some people say it looks like traditional homeschooling. That's not a bad description of it, but keep in mind it would be more like traditional homeschooling on steroids. You've got the support of a teacher, the support of the schools, some funding support, not just one teacher supporting you, but it's really quite encouraging to see all the teachers in the background as they are emailing each other and getting assistance with questions that you, the parents, are asking. So our home program is the first one. In the online world, we have courses, and they are all written and brought to you now in Brightspace. And our online courses are from grade 7 to 9. We don't have any courses younger than that, really. And then in blended, we have programs which blend the classroom environment with our home program, and we have courses that blend the classroom environment with online courses. So that's the 3 different ways that we educate children, working with you as the parents. Slide. Next slide. That's great. So in our home program, as I said, it does resemble homeschooling, but it isn't the same. One teacher will be assigned to your family if at all possible, and that teacher might continue with your family if you are starting in kindergarten for 10 years until that child moves out of grade 9 and into grade 10. So it could be quite a long period of time. Our longest serving home teacher, Mrs. Carolee Buzza, has been with the school for 21 years, right from day one. And she still has some of her original families working with her. In the home program, you can totally personalize a child's learning. It is the most flexible. It's as if we create school where the school only has your child in it. Teacher and student communication needs to be ongoing, and this home program is available anywhere throughout the province. And you can mix and match some online and blended courses in there. But you can't put in a blended program with the home program. You can't do both. Slide, please. In the online, that would be the system that would most closely resemble a traditional school. If you can imagine walking through the front doors and going from classroom to classroom to do your math, your science, and so on, That's kind of what it is like in our online system, where your child would log in, go into their math course, do their math work, go into their science course, do their science work, etc. Each teacher has its own course. Each course has its own teacher, and those teachers are tremendous at communicating. They will be in touch with you if they're not seeing your child's work. Um, they will be in touch with you if they're noticing real difficulties, and so on. The courses are mostly asynchronous, which means that your child could be doing this work from anywhere in the world at any time in the day or night. They don't need to be logged in at 8 in the morning or anything like that. As I said, grades 7 to 9 have online courses. They're not as flexible as a home course. The courses have been written and they're all sitting there and ready to go. And if there is a need for a little bit of tweaking here and there for an individual child, the teacher can do that. And you'll see we do require that you kind of keep going. You don't just start and then take 3 months off and expect that the teacher is going to wait patiently. So the teachers will be in touch with parents if they're not seeing regular work. And next slide, please. And then the blended, there are two types of blended. There's programs, and then there are courses, as I said before. We have two different programs in different parts of the province. We have our one-day blended program, so the student would be in our class 1 day of the week and at home 4 days, and basically working like a home student for those 4 days. And then we have our 2-day program. Students are in class 2 days and at home the other 3 days. The one thing about the 2-day blended program in the Surrey-Cloverdale area is it does have a project-based learning focus. It's our only blended program that has that focus. The other blended programs will do projects, but it's a different type of project and project-based learning. So we have blended programs in Vancouver, a 1 day and a 2 day, in Surrey, 1 day and 2 day, in Prince George, just a 1 day, and then we have some hybrid blended type programs in VanderHorst, Fort St. James, Dawson Creek, and we do from time to time have a smattering of blended type programs in other areas in the province. Our blended courses are like our online courses, except that you don't just go into a course, you actually 1 day a week have to come into class. And about a third of the time a student would typically be in a course, they would be in our blended class. And then the rest of the time they would be working with the accompanying online course. And next slide, please. And that's me. I'm done.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm Marianne VanderHorst, and I am in charge of our grade 10 to 12 program. So I am married to Burke there. We've been married for 18 years, and we have 4 kids. Burke is also a teacher. He's a math and science guy, and he teaches at a school that's connected to our church here in Langley. I feel very blessed to live in BC because I think we have just the most amazing mountains and places to explore. So when I can, I am out hiking a mountain or probably watching my kids playing some sort of sport. So if I'm not replying to emails or in video calls, that's usually where you can find me. So that's just a little bit about me. Next slide. So grade 10 to 12 has a number of programs that are similar to what Steve has described. So we have online courses, we have blended courses, and we also have grad adapted courses. So we don't have a blended program, but we are more just courses. So you could come on Tuesdays here to Cloverdale and take your Humanities 10, Math 10, Science 10, but it's all individual courses. There's not a 2-day program at the high school level, but our schedule is looking at different courses. Some students do a mix of online and a mix of blended. Some do all online. It's just whatever works for the family. It's important to note that at the grade 10 to 12 level, the funding is very different for grade 10 to 12 students. So in the kindergarten to grade 9 program, you pay your base tuition, and then you have a little bit of money to use for your resources. In grade 10 to 12, you pay per course, but we only charge you for the first 4 online courses. So if you did a fully online program, the tuition is $200. But if you add some blended courses in there, it's going to be $175 per course. But you don't have access to grant money for resources because we are providing the teacher, we will provide all the resources, and that's the way our program works at 10 to 12. For courses like online PE, online music, online drama, there is a small little grant of $50 that you can use once the student has activated the course. We are very flexible in our program, so we offer continuous enrollment. Students can sign up for courses at any time in the school year. Typically, those students are aiming to complete courses from September to June. Now, they can complete all their courses from September to June, or they can decide to put their courses on a semester schedule. And in their courses, the teachers will have a linear schedule, so September to June, or a semester schedule, so September to the end of January, and then February 1 to mid-June. So it's up to the student. Whatever works best for them is what they can do, and they can let their teachers and me know their plans for that. A big question I get is, I've got all these courses. How do I know how much time I should spend on my course? And I think a good average to have in mind is a minimum of 3 hours per week per course. So if you have a total of 7 courses, students should be budgeting or scheduling in their week at least 21 hours of schoolwork. So if you're doing schoolwork over 5 days, you're doing about 4 hours of schoolwork a day. Humanities does combine English and socials, so it is a heavier course. So sometimes students are like, I feel like I'm spending all my time on humanities, and you probably are spending more time on humanities than any other course because it's 2 courses in one. So if a student has a humanities course, they need to plan for about 6 hours a week for that course. Now, this is if you're doing a September to June. If a student switches to a semester schedule, those times have to be doubled because they're focusing on less courses. English 10 is the only year where students, if they're doing English 10, they have to do 2 English courses. Now, it's not a 4-credit course like your English 11, English 12, or any other course, but it's 2 smaller courses. So typically, students would start with their Composition 10 course. Once they've completed that, they would move on to their next English 10 course. So English 10 is 2 smaller courses that they have to complete. It's super important for students to kind of lay out their week for themselves. Like, okay, I'm going to do schoolwork Monday to Friday. On Monday, this is the times of the day that I have available for schoolwork, and put in that schedule what courses they're going to work on. And then print out that schedule, have it by their workstation. So then they know, okay, it's Tuesday today, I should be working on these courses. Tomorrow's Wednesday, I'm going to focus on these courses. And I find this just gives students a bit more focus in their schoolwork. Because while we are flexible, and at the end of the day, students do have 12 months to complete a course, we do require regular communication. We don't want students being like, oh, I have a year to complete my course. I just didn't want to do work in it this month. So we do want to know that a student is actively working in their course. And it's also super important as parents that you are your child's accountability partner in this schooling. As an online teacher, 2 weeks could pass and I'll be like, I didn't hear from Jimmy for 2 weeks. Now Jimmy is 2 weeks behind in his schoolwork. But as a parent, if you're kind of saying, hey, show me what you did this week in your classes, show me some feedback you got, then you're also making sure your child is on track and doesn't get so far behind. One other thing it's good to highlight is to have a good workstation for your child. And I highly recommend, if possible, not to have the workstation in their bedroom. There's so many distractions on the computer. If they love video games, if they're into chatting with friends, it's easy to hide that from you as a parent. So having them in a space in the house where you can easily monitor them, or where there's just a lot harder for them to just kind of, slouch down behind their desk, which is going to be harder to get work done. Just set them up really well so they have good posture when they're working. They can, grab a drink of water, but they're not kind of hidden in their bedroom, maybe sitting on their bed doing schoolwork. So a good workstation is super important for your child. And I did share some schedule timetable samples through the student office. So if you do want some advice on how to help your child create a weekly schedule to make sure they're getting coursework done, feel free to reach out to me if you want to see those. Your child also has a TLA webmail. Super important that they're checking that webmail, because that's a great way to connect with their teachers. Teachers love to hear from their students, so encourage your child to email their teacher if they're stuck or confused, or if they just want to tell their teacher something. They can also chat with their teachers, because the webmail uses Gmail. So if they see their teachers online, they could quickly chat their teacher and maybe get an instant response. Next slide. So I'm hoping most of your kids have logged in today, but if they haven't, I'm just going to quickly run over this. When you go to the website, schoolathome.ca, you click the login button, and then you get to that bottom screen there that's blue. It's called the hub. You would put in their username and password. Notice the green box says, if you've forgotten your password, you can request it here. Just click that button, and then you will be resent your login information. Then once you click login, go to the next slide. You are in the hub. In the hub, it will say, welcome so-and-so. For me, it's going to say, welcome, Marianne. The first icon is TLA Online. All our courses from last year are under TLA Online. If students are just working on 23-24 courses, they need to click the bright space icon. And that bright space icon will take them to their courses. They can also access their email from here. You notice there's an email icon. There's also a Google Drive icon. So students don't need a whole fancy Microsoft Office suite to do their schoolwork. Google Docs works great. So have them create folders for their courses, save their work in their Google Drive. A nicely organized Google Drive is also helpful in feeling on top of their studies. There's also a help desk icon there where they can contact tech if they need help with something. And then that Destiny icon takes students and parents to our online library. So there's lots of different books and resources there that they can check out. So next slide is, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but there are 80 credits that are required of students to graduate. And there is also a numeracy 10 assessment and a literacy 10 and 12 assessment. So students who are in grade 10 this year, there's going to be 4 opportunities throughout the school year for them to write their numeracy and literacy assessments. So, and these have to be written at a school. So we run them down here in Cloverdale. If you don't live close to Cloverdale, connect with me when the sign up goes out, and I can make arrangements with a school in your community for you to write the assessment there. Most schools are very accommodating. It's just super important that it's done at a school. It cannot be done online. It can't be done at your home, but it must be done in a school. If you have a child who's in grade 12 and you're new to TLA, I really encourage students to get that literacy 12 done earlier in the school year, just so it's on their transcript sooner. Yeah, you can go to the next slide, Gabe. So what I do with students is I create a grad planner for them where we keep track of all their courses. So the grade 10 courses at the top, I have all their required courses. Then we're going to do their electives. We keep track of their assessments. One thing I always keep an eye on with this is new this year is students need an Indigenous Studies credit. So making sure they have that as well. So hopefully by the time they get to grade 12, there's no surprises like, by the way, you never did a fine arts course, you can't graduate. So this is just a really good working document for me, for the students, for parents, just to make sure we're on track. And electives are different for every student. It's going to depend on what your child goes into. So if your child loves sciences, sees themselves going on to study in sciences, their electives are going to be more science courses, because under required, you can see they only need Science 10 and one Science 11 or 12 course. If they end up doing Life Science 11, Chemistry 11, Physics 11, one is going to go on required, the other two become their electives. If you have a student who doesn't care for science, they're going to have one science course under required, and they might have more fun courses, like a course that they consider to be fun. So maybe art, drama, tourism, marketing, accounting. There's all different options, but electives are so different for every student, and it just depends on the path they take. And that's a discussion I'll have with a student once they get more to the grade 11, 12 level, because there's not a ton of choice at the grade 10 level. There's a lot that they just have to do. So if you have more questions about that, we can talk about it later, and then we'll go to the next slide. Just wanted to highlight that at the end of a student's graduation year, we have a really big graduation ceremony to celebrate the accomplishments. And this is for students who were possibly on an evergreen path, students who maybe did an adult dogwood, students who did the full dogwood, students who did registered homeschooling. If it's your grade 12 year, we want to celebrate with you. And so we do a whole ceremony and we do a dinner and dance. And it's a really lovely evening to celebrate with everyone. So it's a highlight for grads, and it's just something to look forward to. That's all for me.
Now I'm wishing I had a photo that was moving, Marianne. That looks so cool to see the hats flying in the air. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Marissa Ang, and I am one of the vice principals at TLA, and I work with kids who are supported by our learning support services teachers, typically students who would have an IEP and receive a little bit of extra support and a little bit of extra wraparound supports in their programming. So this is me and my family. We live in Vancouver. My husband Mark and I just celebrated 10 years, and those are our two kids, Abigail and James. If I'm not seated here at this desk, I am going to be probably one of three places. I only have two listed, but it's either at my garden, just like standing there, puttering, working with my garden, at our local curling rink, or snuggled away somewhere with a book. So those are my top three favorite things when I'm not working, which I also love to do. And I've been with TLA since 2017. I started off as an LSS teacher, and then in 2020, I was so grateful to move on to the role of vice principal and have been working in that role ever since. So one of the probably the most common email I get from families is just kind of like, my kid needs help, where can I go? And there's actually quite a few options within TLA, so I always like to differentiate between the two. So we have two departments. We have the LSS department, which I oversee, and then we have the LA department. So Steve, Mr. Borley, is going to be looking after K-9 LA, and then Marianne would be looking after the 10 to 12 LA. In both of those LA departments, we have teachers who are involved, who are going to be setting up IEPs, who are going to be scheduling additional video sessions with students if that's something that would support them. And there's quite a few options in terms of supporting those students. So if you are unsure, maybe you think, oh, you know what, my kid could really use some extra help, probably the easiest way is just to fire me an email. You could CC Steve if he's K-9, or Marianne if they're 10 to 12, and we can figure out exactly where we can go to access support for your child. If you happen to know their ministry designation, A to H would be with me, and QP or K, P, Q, and R would be with Steve or Marianne. But as always, just fire me an email if you have any questions with that. We can probably go to the next one, Gabe. Okay, so here is our team. We've had, not everyone is in that picture. It was kind of an impromptu picture during our staff conference. We have a team of 20 teachers who are located throughout the Lower Mainland, over on the island, and in through the interior. Probably the farthest north we get is like Kelowna, Salmon Arms, so we're not that far north. I know Steve has quite a few teachers and Marianne has quite a few teachers who are living on the top half of the province. We're a more southern half group. We have 20 teachers who are working with our students, and we also have an amazing support team in the office, our LSS office admin, who are incredibly helpful to us. Yeah, so that's a little bit of our team, and we can go to the next slide. So for our students that we are helping, just someone needs to get muted there. Perfect. So we have a couple different things we are going to be working on for our families. So the first thing we're going to be looking on is academic plans. They're often referred to as SLPs or student learning plans. The next thing we're always going to be looking at is those IEPs, the individualized education plans. And then the third thing we're looking at is once we have those academic goals, once we have those IEP goals, we look at what type of therapeutic support plan we can create for the student based on their assessed needs and their observed needs. And that's how we're able to kind of create a wraparound support for students. All of the students in the LSS department would be able to access additional funding grants from the Ministry of Education, and we're able to use those funding grants to put therapeutic supports in place, such as a behavior consultant, a speech and language pathologist, an occupational therapist, counseling, those types of things. I think I'll get into that a little bit more in a couple slides. Perfect. So the first thing we're always going to be looking at with our students is looking at their learning plan. What are we focused on this year? We support students in kindergarten all the way to grade 12. For some of our students, they're going to be, right in there in the blended classrooms, in Marianne's Calculus 12 class, really just working at grade level and doing their 8-9 classes a year. For some of our students, that's not always the best option. For some students, they're going to maybe take a part-time load, or they might be working on a modified program. And regardless of what type of program they're working on, one of the academic supports we pull in is additional teacher time, and also setting up contracts for educational assistants and tutors that would be local to you and your family and available to support the student either one-on-one, in person, or online. But when I look at, we're nearing on to 300 students this year, and they are in a variety of home-based therapeutic centers, online, and blended learning. So we really have students who are interacting with learning in all the different environments that TLA offers. And I'm so excited that I get to see that and get to go visit so many different environments to see kids learning in really cool ways. Go to... Perfect, thanks. So one of the things Marianne was mentioning about is graduation, which is my favorite day of the year for TLA all year long. Our students have two different options. They're either pursuing an evergreen or a dogwood. So if you've heard of like a typical graduation degree, that's a dogwood. Marianne mentioned there's 80 credits, there's grade 10, 11, 12 requirements, there's exams. Our students would take a mix of in-person, online, or gap courses, and Marianne would be able to help you guys developing that grad plan. Many of our students decide to take an additional year and stretch out that the courses so they're not as dense, and that's always an option as well. So Marianne and I and your LSS teacher would be involved in kind of creating that schedule and that plan. For some of our other students, they're working on an evergreen or a school finishing certificate. So that would be one where students are working on modified curricular goals, their IEP goals, life skill development, really looking at what transitioning to adulthood looks like for them. And both of those students are going to be enthusiastically celebrated at our graduation and really kind of celebrate 12 or 13 years of wonderful learning, either all at TLA or at a variety of different educational programming. I think we go to the next one. Perfect. So that's kind of the academic side of things. And I know if you have a child who's going to be supported, I'm seeing some names pop up that I recognize already. Obviously, each child is so unique. We're never going to be able to talk about all the different types of supports or all the different unique adaptations or accommodations we can offer. So I guess my kind of saying is always like, if you have questions, please just reach out and send me an email and we can talk about the academic supports that are going to best support your child. So one of the other things our teachers are always working on is IEPs. So these are going to be specific goals to the children that are based on core competencies. So their communication, social skills, ability to engage with different academics, and ability to think critically and think creatively and share their ideas. And each IEP is going to be completely unique to the child based on who they are, what their strengths are, what their stretches are, and what their goals are. And what we're able to do once we have those IEP goals and those academic goals is we create a therapeutic support plan for each child. So your LSS teacher would talk to you at your IEP meetings, which have already been happening for now 2 months. They'll continue on as new families are brought on and we can continue to develop programs. Well, we would talk about where the student's at and what types of support they need, and then set up those supports. You'd be connecting with your teacher every week and going over how the week went, if there's any big successes we want to share, any struggles we want to share, any supports that are needed, and really just kind of connecting every week to ensure that we're all on the same page and that we know the student has everything they need to be successful. We have 3 IEP meetings, so 1 initial IEP meeting, an end of term 1 or mid-year IEP meeting, and then an end of year IEP meeting. So we'll end up doing 3 of those formal IEP reviews, but you'll be hearing from your teacher all the time, and we're always connecting with our families to make sure they have what they need to ensure the student is successful. And Gabe, there might be one more.
There is not one more.
There's not. That's all I had to say. Okay. Well, I'll close with saying that we're so excited to support so many of your students and you guys as families. I know many of you are new. I'm seeing names kind of pop up that I recognize as recently having come through the enrollment. So I would just encourage you, if you do have any other questions, just fire me an email and we can plan a time to connect.
Thanks, Marissa, and thanks, Marianne. Thank you, Steve. The only one more actually that we have is I knew that I missed a slide somehow, and it's not a very lengthy slide, but it's just this little slide here. I'm sure I missed it because it has a picture that's memorable of some of us teachers, including Marianne here. We're on a big field trip to Ottawa and Montreal in the spring, and I didn't want to end the meeting without mentioning a lot of the community building type activities that we try to do and that we do. We don't just try to do them, we do them. Pretty much every year we have some kind of major international field trip. This January, it'll be a trip to Guatemala for high school students, a service-oriented trip there. And we have quite a few field trips that happen all around the province in different areas. I encourage you, if you're in K through 9, put a bug in your home teacher's ear if you want to see something organized in your area. If you're in a more remote area in the Lower Mainland, just because of the critical mass of people, it's a little easier, and the many facilities and that type of thing, it's a little easier to offer a lot of field trips in the Lower Mainland. We also offer a lot of community classes. So those are classes that are, as I mentioned in the bulletin on Friday, which you may or may not have read, classes that are not related to the curriculum, but that are taught by TLA staff, usually in an area of interest for them. So just keep your eyes open for those. And finally, as related to field trips and community classes, I want to encourage you and actually ask you one thing. If you do one thing, is please open those bulletins that we send out every week. They come out generally Friday evening, sometimes not till Saturday, but I'm about a 95% success rate getting them out on Friday to you. And between Marianne, Marissa, Steve, myself, Mrs. Wims, our main librarian, who's also here, Mr. Edward Hewlett, our tech lead, they all come up with some new news and important information for you every week. So we have a photo of the week in there. We try to build community through the weekly bulletin, and there are other ways we try to continue to try to build community offline and online in real life and not. So yeah, keep your eyes out for the bulletin each week. And that's it for our little overview introduction to TLA. I did mention Mrs. Wims is here. She's a very busy person these days in our resource library, and it's somehow she's able to actually be here tonight too. So hello, Jennifer. If you have any questions for any of us, we have 15 minutes before we're planning to start the Brightspace orientation. Happy to field questions for me or any of us here now, if you like, or our emails are all listed here. Of course, you are welcome to contact any of us with questions. The last one, the info@schoolathome.ca, is a good one for if you're not sure who you should ask the question. Send it to info, and one of our receptionists will make sure it gets to the right person. So I'll just leave the floor open. I will open the chat. Someone could jump on the microphone, or can you explain how the library works? Well, Mrs. Wims, would you like to field that one in a nutshell? Sure. Go ahead.
I know Marianne put up how to access within the hub, the links. So within there, you will find it says Destiny. So you can access it online. You do have to sign in through your student sign on. So that will be your child, not as a parent. The library works for borrowing all non-consumable resources. So when you're placing an order, when you're requesting resources from your teacher, there are items like teacher's guides and reading novels or curriculum that you might want to use at home that you don't have to go out and buy or use your funding for, that the library provides to you. We have a very generous amount of resources available to support you in your learning. And anything that you take out basically goes till June. So you have all the way till the end of June 2024 to return everything. So you have the whole, you have a lot of access to a lot of curriculum. With your teacher, you'll discuss what ways and what resources would be consumable and non-consumable. But we can, if you're a regional family, that to us means 60 kilometers or greater from our office, and we would ship your resources to you. And if you were a local family within the 60 kilometers, we'd ask you to come pick them up. There are slight differences if you're homeschooling, registered homeschooled, or if it's just more of the online, or whether it's grad. So there are some shipping differences there, but it's really to support you and sort of give you a robust helping hand in your daily lesson plans, and that you can hold on to for a while. So we are available for coming in and taking a look at what is in our library. Right now until October 2nd, you can walk in and take a look at things. You can't borrow from the library till after October 2nd, when we open for borrowing as more of a traditional library. So you can come in, take a resource, and the expiry will still be June. So you have a good, robust access to information. I don't know if that sort of answers very quickly.
I'm going to jump in, Jennifer, and just put in for some of the digital books too that are available in the library. Maybe you can
certainly
clarify a bit of that.
So we do have a lot of novels and books available through Destiny Discover. So when you go into the links and select Destiny, you would sign in automatically into Destiny Discover. We have audiobooks as well as ebooks that could be checked out for about 3 weeks at a time. And so if you have a book that you'd like to read, a novel you'd like to do with your child, you can check it out for that 3-week period. You can place holds as well on books, and that'll probably be opening up mid-October after Thanksgiving. So yeah, there's lots available.
I would also add that there are digital like learning resources available through the hub. So if you log into the hub and you look on the left side of your screen, there's a menu bar there. There's a link that says resources. And there are many school-wide resources there that are available to families who are registered and enrolled with TLA. Many of them are resources where the school has purchased a site-wide license. So we pay a per student fee for everybody in the school to be able to access it. And there's information there on how you can access those resources, things like Brain Pop, Reading A to Z, World Book Encyclopedia, National Geographic for Kids. There's a whole lot of resources there. If you're kind of stuck on a day, maybe you're waiting for some resources to arrive. You're kind of my wife and I, we have a child with TLA, and we're sometimes like, oh, let's mix it up today. Let's find something on the resource page, and you can usually find something fun there to do. And in a related question, Corey Lynn asks, and I don't know, Steve or Jennifer, if you want to answer this, brand new to TLA, how long can we expect resource requests to be processed and POs paid so we can receive digital content?
Yeah, so for regular K-9, I was instructed today that any resources that had been requested through teachers up to and including this morning had been processed on our end, which means they've gone to our staff who do the ordering. So if you were ordering something from Christian Home Education Resources, it's now in their inbox, even if you made that request this morning. So it's pretty quick that way, but then of course we can't control the other end. Purchase order numbers, there is a sheet or a document of vendors who accept our purchase order numbers. So if you're looking for that, you might have to ask me specifically for that. Usually I'm not entirely sure where it's found right now, but there is a document that I have in Drive that would give that information to you where you could use your purchase order.
I believe that, I believe that is in the parent handbook in one of the links in there.
Okay. And then digital content, things like IXL math and that kind of stuff. If you had requested that this morning, then it would have been approved and it would be in the workload for the person who is making those provisions, and might be done already tonight. I'm not sure. Pretty quick.
Thanks, Steve and Mrs. Wims. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to look back. Those of us who have been doing this type of learning and schooling and educating for a while. 18 to 20 years ago, we were just barely setting up. We were barely online. I mean, we were just moving out of the correspondence age. And then we've gone into, the last really only, remarkably, when you think about it, I would say for the last 7 or 8 years has video really been reliable as a means of communication for online learning. And that's made a huge difference to our ability to communicate with parents and students and with each other. So that's made this form of learning so much more accessible and viable. And now we're struggling with artificial intelligence and all the crazy other things that technology is throwing at us. So over the span of 20 years, it's like we've gone from the Stone Age into the Jetsons future. But that's just a little editorial side note. I wanted to also note, to answer the question, thank you, Joanne, as to where the library is. Sometimes a little confusing when people ask where we are. So we have our main office building, and Mrs. Kinniston, one of our blended teachers, thank you, has put the address there. That's where most of our office staff, actually all of our office staff and our library, work out of that space. What we call TLA Hawthorne is where our grade 10 through 12 blended classes are, as well as some grade 8 and 9 blended classes and our grade 8 and 9 blended program. And then we have a third location in the Cloverdale area that's behind. We rent part of the building and portables along with Fraser Valley School. It's like a TLA / Fraser Valley School on 60th, right in the area. Those are the Cloverdale base for anyone in the Lower Mainland. Those are our local locations. But the main one, if you're not involved in blended at all, the one that you care about is where the library is. That's at 103-17688 66th Ave, just behind the complex there with the big Save-On Foods and Starbucks and McDonald's. What's the name? Cross something? What's that whole shopping area called? Does anyone know? It's a shopping center. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Corey Lynn. Yeah, I recommend just following up on that. Is as Steve said, we don't always we don't at all control Canada Post or whatever shipping methods Amazon and the like uses. Thank you, Mrs. Hebert, another TLA teacher coming through with Cloverdale Crossing is the answer. Yeah, it's quite possible things have been requested and they just get delayed. A lot of these suppliers for items that home learning families like to use, they all get very busy this time of year, not surprisingly. So sometimes there are backlogs with some of the suppliers. So we have a couple minutes for questions here before we're going to turn the reins over to Mrs. Renee. I mentioned field trips. Well, we have a minute of dead air. I'm going to just plug for field trips again. Look out in the bulletin. I put a link in there where you can put in some field trip suggestions even. So, you know, we love organizing field trips and we love seeing you out and about at field trips. So.
And we have a dragon boating planned for
Yes.
Monday for grade 10 to 12 students in Vancouver here. So if your child wants to meet some of their peers, especially if they're new to the program, that's kind of a fun way to spend 90 minutes in a boat with a bunch of other students.
Okay, well, if you aren't staying for the Brightspace session, we thank you so much for taking the time out to come and be a little more well-versed in the school and to get to meet and hear from the leadership team of the school. And certainly we are, I think, something that sets us apart as a school, and I will say, you know, you'll find in other online schools as well, is we're quite accessible. You know, you are able to reach out to your teachers as generally your first line of educational support when you need anything. The librarian's available by phone, our tech department's available by multiple means, and all of us as members of the leadership team, really everybody on our staff, we know that we're here to serve you. We're not here for any other reason really than to make sure you are well supported in your educational journey with your child. So we'd love to hear from you and to get to know you. Okay, thank you, Jenna. Yeah, so if you're not staying for Brightspace, that's the end of the orientation. If you are staying for further orientation, we will just quietly wait for another 60 seconds or so, and then we'll give Mrs. Renee a chance to get her screen ready to share. And we're just going to be about another half an hour maximum. If you are new to the school, probably wouldn't hurt to stick around, and if you have never used Brightspace before, which most people haven't, so it's a new system for us this year, and it was a requirement for all provincial online learning schools. As I mentioned, we became a provincial online learning school. This is ours and all of the schools in BC. This is the first year of this new designation, and one of the things that the government decided was going to be a something that would ensure a standard of quality among the online schools was that they would all use the same learning management system. And the government made a long-term contract with a Canadian company called Brightspace. And that's what we refer to, it's what's called a learning management system. So that's the place where all of our courses live in the online world. And that takes us to 8 o'clock. And I'm sure that Mrs. Renee would not have abandoned us yet. There she is. So I'm going to turn my mic to you.
No, I haven't abandoned
And
you.
now I need to get, yeah,
I'm
you're just waiting for me to
anxiously
stop
there.
talking. I need to give you some kind of control here, though, Mrs. Renee.
I have the ability to share my
fantastic.
screen, it looks like.
Take it away
So
then. Go ahead.
that's good. Yeah, so I don't have any slides to share, so I'm actually going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to take you through what it looks like as a parent to log in and to look at the online courses from the parent perspective. So I'm going to share my screen here. I hope it all works out. There we go. Okay, so parents are going to log into the hub just like students, except that you're going to use your parent login. So I have a parent login, so I'm going to use that. And I've noticed that today it's a little bit slow, so be patient with the system, and for your students to we've had, I know, a couple of queries, and it's just that they just needed to refresh their screen or wait for it to load. Wow, it's really slow. Here we go. Okay, so as a parent, I have the icons that Marianne showed you earlier. I'm going to go into Brightspace, and I don't have much to see here. When you first log in, this welcome widget would come up, and there was a little orientation video, and then some welcome. But what I wanted to show you today is the parent portal. For those of you who have students taking an online course, when you click onto the parent portal, you will see your students. So for some reason today, only one of my boys is showing, the other one is not loading, but John is the student, the child I've been experimenting with and putting him in all my test courses so that I could show you how this would look. So when you log into the parent portal, you will see 3 main things and then latest posts. John's work to do, this shows any upcoming due dates. And because we're asynchronous, there is likely not going to be much there. If you have a student in a blended course, then there may be some due dates there, but probably not. We don't tend to use a lot of due dates because we want to allow students the flexibility to work at their own pace. All students from K to 12 have access to a portfolio where they can upload items, and parents can see those items if that item has been shared. So when I click into John's portfolio, all the courses that he's enrolled in show up, and I'm going to click into my test course, and here you can see the one item that he's added there, and if there's any teacher feedback on that item, it would show up here as well. There's not much to see there because I didn't give him any feedback. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. The thing you might be most interested in is this recent grades. When I click into this, I can see all of my students' courses, and I can see any submissions that they have made and the grade that they've received. If I click into this, you can see that he's got 100% on this. These are all just fake submissions, by the way, just so you know. But I can also, as a parent, I can click on this item, and I can see all the assignment instructions. I can see a rubric that was attached to that assignment. And if I keep going down, I can see his actual submission as well as his grade. So you only see this once a student has submitted an assignment and received feedback on it. It doesn't show you any assignments that they haven't done yet. But if, a student got a grade that maybe wasn't as good, this allows you to see what they submitted, the feedback from the teacher, any learning outcomes that were attached to that assignment, and how this teacher has assessed them, and then the assignment itself, and you can actually click on that and open it and see their work. So this is new to us this year with Brightspace, and we're really excited that parents have this window into how their students are doing. Finally, down at the bottom, this latest posts are activity feed posts that a teacher might have sent out in their course. They also come to this parent portal. And so this one is just a test run to see how that was doing. So then if I go back to the parent portal, let's see if Gabe's showing up. Nope. For some reason, that other student is just not. So right now, this might be what you would see for a student if there's they haven't submitted anything yet. There's not much to see. You can always get back to the hub from, this is called the nav bar up at the top, where we've got this parent portal link and the hub. And that's the brief overview of the parent portal. I'm going to stop. I'm going to find my controls and stop sharing my screen so I can see if there's any questions. But I wanted to share with you, I can't show you the app in this format, but the Pulse app, if you've got a mobile device, is pretty handy for students. And one of the advantages of that is that you can be signed into multiple accounts, and you can you don't have to log in and out of each account. So if you have an iPad that students share, they can, once you're all logged in through the hub, if you go up into the top corner on our little TLA logo, you press that and you can see everybody who's logged in. So I've been testing it out. I'm logged into 3 different accounts, and it's easy to just click through those. So that's nice. Brightspace also has specifically a parent portal app, and then they have also a portfolio app that is geared towards the students themselves for them to upload work. And so if you are have home students who might be using Portfolio this year, then the app is a nice way to go. It's easy for students to use. We haven't had a lot of experience with it yet, so there's not much to share yet with the app, but it's pretty user friendly so far. As you know, today is the first official day of school, and so we're all learning together about how this is going to work. Just looking to see if there's any questions. Would you like to see Brightspace from
And you know, to be fair, Mrs. Renee, you and the teachers, and you have been helping the teachers almost all of last year. So it's going to be new to us as using it live, but all of our staff and teachers have been getting trained on how to use it for most of last school year. And thank you, Jamie, for everything you've done.
Yeah, so it's been my pleasure. But so we're all used to the back end now of Brightspace and how it looks from the teacher's perspective, and we are excited for our students to be using it because it is pretty intuitive and user friendly for students. We hope that it'll be a really good experience for them.
Amy, are
Yes.
you set up to be able to show the parents of the home program and blended program their view into things at all?
I can show them what it looks like. I added myself to my test homeroom, and it's not quite right, and I think it's because I have all these different permissions, but I will show. I'm going to log out as John over here, and I will show you. I'll share my screen again. Right. Log out of there. Log out as the parent. I'm going to log back in as a teacher. and get my video out of the way. We'll wait for it to spin. So home parents, we've given you a unique role within Brightspace, and I'm going to change that. It's actually what's going to be called an educational assistant role, and that's because, oh, there's that welcome widget. Yay. So you've probably gone through this and you can dismiss it, and there it goes. So as the primary educator of your child and students, we wanted to give you access to, sorry, let me try and find my test homeroom. To the ability to upload and interact with our online, our homerooms for the home students. So when you log in as a parent to the homeroom, you will see they are all set up kind of in a similar way with an activity feed at the top, your teacher information. When you click into, this is called the visual table of contents, you click into here and you can go through the resources that have been shared. Oh, I went all the way back. Sorry. Let's let's go into here. So when you, I don't have much in my test room, you can see, but your teacher will have shared some resources, and you go back, it takes you all the way back to that homepage. Sorry, it works a little bit different than the online courses, so it's catching me slightly off guard. So here, let's see if there's anything in, for examples. Yay, there is. Oh. And of course, tonight it's not coming to work because
you have too many roles,
that's the
Jamie.
way it
That's
goes.
the thing.
Let's that is the thing. I'm gonna search for somebody else's homeroom and peek into theirs. Oh, Marissa's here. Marissa,
I'm here. Hi.
take a look at your homeroom. Hi, I'm peeking into your homeroom. That's what it might look like as a parent. So this is. So you get to meet your teacher. Yay! Some online resources. What I'm looking for is some interactive. But we've given home parents the ability to upload perhaps for examples, but it is going to depend on how your home teacher has set up their homeroom, as you'll see.
It won't be so much.
Oh, look at butterfly unit.
It
Sorry,
won't
Steve,
be so
go ahead.
much that parents would be interacting with as much as some teachers will be storing a lot of resources there that could be quite useful to your child's program. And so please note that you will have the ability to go into the home teacher's course and find the resources that they have, and then you're welcome to use them.
Yeah, for example, so here if I click into, there's some optional resources, there's a science resource that you could access as a parent. So you have much the same view that a student has in the homeroom as a parent, but you can log in using your own account. You don't have to use your child's account to log in. Parents do not show up in the class list. So that's just so you know that you aren't going to see the other families. This is a unique to you and your family. So can I offer to show anything else here while I'm sharing my screen? Look, yeah, there we go. Okay, So let me go over into, I teach a number of online courses. So let me go over into my art course. And again, I'll show you the student perspective here. So when a student works through the course, they're going to hopefully start at the beginning, start at the introduction, familiarize themselves with the structure of the course. There are two different kinds of assignment submissions. Most of our assignments have been set up for what it's called a file submission. So when I scroll down here as a student, I see some choices here. I see that I can upload, and if I choose this, then it's going to go to my documents on my computer, and I can choose any kind of document from my computer, whether it's a Word document, a PDF, an image, or I can go to choose existing. And I'm hoping you're seeing my pop-ups. I know sometimes when I'm in a meeting with somebody else, I don't see their pop-ups, but if you go to choose existing, students can actually access their Google Drive, and they can, again, share any kind of document that's saved in their Google Drive, whether it's a document, a spreadsheet, a photo, a video, a other kind of slides, in any kinds of options. So students have the choice of uploading different kinds of documents when they're submitting an assignment. Students should note that if an assignment is set up like this, where it's a file submission, they have to submit a file. It's not going to give them the option to submit until they have done so. They can also add a comment, and they can also record video or audio along with their submission. So this would be the same for students who are in online or blended courses where they have an online component to the course. That answers that question. A little feature you may be noticing here, and if you're looking over the shoulder of your students, you can see how much of a unit they have completed here at a glance. So you can see that I've clicked on 6 out of 7 topics or completed them. Sometimes the completion is that they have to submit an assignment. So that's why I would have 6 out of 7, as I didn't actually submit that assignment. I was just showing you. So and when students get to an end of a unit, if they've completed it, it will give them a little here we go. Nice work so far. Uh-oh, you have something left to complete. So it tells them what they need to complete and then directs them to go back to do that. Yes, there is an Introduction to Online Learning course that all students who are taking an online course should have been added to, and it would show up for students on this landing page. It's called Introduction to Online Learning. This is what it looks like on their landing page. If it's not showing up for them, then shoot your VP an email and we can add them to that course. So any student, whether they're grades 7, 8, 9, all the way through 12, should be in this course. And it's designed to take them an hour to complete. I would encourage them to spend some time, read through the material thoroughly, watch the videos. I have noticed that a few students are going through a little bit quickly and maybe missing some vital information. Yeah, so if a student's only taking one online course, they may have gotten forgotten. So just send us an email and we'll get them enrolled in that. Okay. Any other questions? Can I show you anything else? Stop sharing for a second so I can see your faces, or not. Maybe I can see your initials.
Okay, Jamie, I think that's it. You did such a good overview everybody's just wanting to jump on there and try it out with their own login. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's our first full year using this, so expect a lot of improvements, and we definitely appreciate your feedback. Jamie has become a real expert in the field, I would say. So yeah, you can contact any of us VPs, your teacher, Jamie. We'll be, it's changeable and adaptable. We can make it work in different ways. So we'll be learning a lot this year from how we use it and what works and if things don't work. So, is the parent access available for grad courses too?
So parents who have students in online courses from 7 to 12, their access is through that parent portal. So they don't have direct access to the courses. They can see the work that their students have submitted, and they can see any activity feed posts that teachers have shared out.
Okay. Another minute for questions. And hearing none, it's not your last chance. Again, just reach out if you have any questions. So appreciate your time tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you all in person sometime or online, or who knows where and how it'll be. But I just hope you have a wonderful year, and a big, big welcome, because so many of you are new to us. So we really hope that you feel well supported and enjoy your year, and that your children enjoy it, and you have lots of fun together, and really take advantage of the flexibility too. I always try to remind parents, especially if you're new, you don't have to do like a regular school day. You can go to the pool when no one else is there, that kind of thing, right? So take advantage of all the benefits of being a home learning family now. So God bless you all. And
Yeah, we always loved it when school started and everyone else went back to the classroom. We'd have the perks again.
okay, take
They're all
care.
ours.
Thanks everybody. God bless and good night.